most importantly, it helped me help myself.
Mhm.
It really formed me into the person that I am today. I feel like without my theater journey and without the schooling and without the lessons in vulnerability, I feel like I would just be a much sadder, lonelier person.
Hello, hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Sweet Madness podcast, where we talk about everything sweet and everything mad and everything in between. And today I have a guest with me, and she is someone I've known for a very long time and one of my bestest friends in the whole entire world, Miss Tara Mangione.
Oh my God. Hi. Yes. What an intro.
Hi, Tara.
Hello.
I'm so happy that you are here and that you could just be one of the lovely people, make my podcast dreams come true. And so, Tara, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been doing theater for, oh God, 16 years now. Has it been that long? I've been doing theater for like 16-ish years, 15-ish years. I do a lot of graphic design. I'm on the board of directors for a community theater. And my hobbies include video games and yoga and
You've heard
long
it.
walks on the beach.
You've heard it here, folks, but she's taken. So, Tara, I think you and I met in 2015, I want to say.
Yes, that is correct.
We were doing a beautiful review show called Broadway Around the World with the theater group that she is on the board of directors for. Yay. I am also on the board of directors for that company. And check out Royal Star Theatre. So so Tara, first of all, like, how did you get into theater? Like, what was the thing that actually got you started 15 years ago, 16 years ago?
Oh, well, I actually started off, believe it or not, singing in a children's church choir. I started that when I was in third or fourth grade because I just had always enjoyed singing and music, and it was an outlet for me. And then from there, uh, I was on a Girl Scout trip and I saw the musical Wicked, and obviously fell in love, and I made it my life goal to play Elphaba one day. It's still my life goal. I will be Elphaba. It's not too late. But it
Me
was right
too.
around the time that I had been, singing at the church. And right after that, I discovered that my elementary slash middle school, because it was a Catholic school, went up to eighth grade. They did musicals, and I was like, well, gotta start somewhere. And I ended up auditioning for that show when I was in sixth grade.
And what show was it?
It was Aladdin Jr.
Aladdin Jr.
Yeah.
What role did you play?
They made up a role for me
They made
because I was only in sixth grade, and they enjoyed me so much that there was a baker, the guy who, get his bread gets stolen.
Uh-huh.
They called me Carmela the baker's wife, and anywhere he went, I went.
That's so awesome. Oh my gosh, that's great. See, look, they're already making roles from you from when you were in sixth grade. How old were you? 11? 10?
No, 9 or 10, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And then you just never stopped, right?
And then I never stopped. Quite literally, I never took a break.
And then you went to college for theater, correct?
Yeah, I did. I actually, at one point, I was looking at high schools. I was looking at a couple of different schools in the area to possibly go to, but I, at that point, had decided that my academics were a little bit more important than arts. But then I totally regretted it. I wish that I went to a performing arts high school, and I started looking at colleges from there. I knew that it was something that I was going to pursue long term. So yeah, I went to Molloy College, now university, and they are in affiliation with Cap 21. They used to be Cap 21 used to be their own program. They used to have a 2-year program. It's where Lady Gaga went, Matthew Morrison went there, Anne Hathaway went there, a lot of big names. And they ended up creating a program in tandem with Molloy College, now university.
Mm-hmm. And how was your experience? Like, how was that whole process from auditioning or, the theater program and then into graduation, all the way through graduation? How was that?
Oh, wow. What a journey.
I know I totally just was like, describe 4 years of your life right now.
Well, truly, I mean, 5. It really did start with the audition process. I knew that I wanted to stay in New York. There are a lot of great programs around the country, but I knew I wanted to stay in New York. I wanted to still live at home. And I was like, New York is like the epicenter of theater. I'm like, why would I go anywhere else? Um, and I had only auditioned for, I believe, 4 schools, and I got super lucky. Cap 21 it was actually my number 2 before I auditioned, but the audition process was so lovely and encouraging, and everyone there was so open and kind that after all of my auditions, it ended up being my number 1 school. And it was the only one that took me. So I got super lucky.
Wow, that's amazing. And how was that experience for that's first of all, that's great that you had such an encouraging and lovely experience. I know auditioning can be very, very nerve-wracking, and it could just be completely intimidating. What made it so welcoming and so lovely and encouraging? Like, was it the people there? Was it how they conducted? Was it their process? What was it specifically that made you feel that way?
Yeah, it was mainly the faculty. I definitely had something to compare it to because it was actually the last school that I auditioned for.
Mm-hmm.
And the school that I had auditioned for previously, I won't name names, but they were complete opposite. They were very stone-faced, and everything was like, oh, like professional, 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 professional. And it was just, okay, fill this out and sit in this room and you're going to do this. And like, there was like no personality to it at all. I had to do a monologue and songs, and my monologue, I remember it was comedic and they refused to laugh at it. They gave no reaction to my singing or anything. Like, I left there being like, oh my God, that was petrifying. It was just like, it was a lot on my tiny 17-year-old brain. um, and then in comparison, walking into Cap 21, they had the front desk person. Hi, how are you? Oh my gosh, so great to see you. So great to meet you. Thank you for being here. Here's your paperwork. Take your time on it. We actually had, I don't remember his name, and I'm so sad that I do. We had someone kind of as a substitute head of auditions and head of admissions. At the time, it was Ricky Oliver, who is also very lovely. I didn't get to meet him, but I met somebody else who had worked with the program, and he was equally as lovely. Explained the program, what they stood for, talked to all of us, explained how the process was going to go. The instructors that were in the room for my singing and for my monologue, they were reactive, they were smiling, they were open and energetic, they gave feedback, they actually gave me notes in the audition room. They just overall were very kind. And even the dance audition, it not that it was laid back, I don't want to use that word, it wasn't like casual, but it was very free. It was just fun. The entire audition process was fun from beginning to end, and I was like, oh wow, like it feels like a family here. I'm like, I have already made myself at home. If I don't get in, then I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
So they really focused on actually making the auditioners feel comfortable.
Which is no one else did that at that time.
That's
Everyone else was
amazing.
so like, there was a lot of ego, and it was
Mm,
kind of a bummer in a way, because not all actors are like that. It doesn't need to be so, oh, like I have all this training and I have all this experience and I'm better than you for it. Like there was none, like there was so much of that
hmm
in the other audition rooms, and even the people I was auditioning with, like they all had that air, and like I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody until I got to the Cap 21 audition, and we were all like joking, and I actually still remember people in my class that ended up getting in with me, and we were like, oh my god, like saw you audition, so good to see you, like I'm so happy you're here, and it was just like a complete 180 from everything that I
hmm
had experienced before.
Yeah, I feel like I also auditioned for a couple of schools for college, and um I felt like everything was very much like stone faced and stuff like that. And I've had training from acting studios in the city like when I was a teenager. So I knew what it could be like, and it was very nurturing. It was very welcoming back then. And working with kids, you kind of have to be. But but when we're adults, I don't know why it switches. I think that's such an interesting thing. Like, why don't we focus on nurturing and making people feel comfortable from the beginning? Because ultimately, what it comes down to, would you say, would it be like your first impression of a place and how it makes you feel to decide you want to spend X amount of time here?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the thing, that was my first impression of so many of these schools, and I'm like, why do I want to spend my next 4 years and hours? I mean, in a every theater program, you spend hours and hours and hours with these people. Why do I want to spend it with people who make me feel less than, who make me feel
hmm
like who make me feel like I have to prove myself every single day to be there. Like,
mm
let it be what it is. What I really appreciated from the school, and they really kept this all throughout my 4 years, is that everything is a learning experience, like
hmm
you're not going to get everything perfect the first time, like strip down everything that and just be open to the actual experience. And you're here to learn. And a lot of my instructors as well, they would bring up the point of like, when you leave here, we could be colleagues, we could be coworkers, we could, audition for the same show, and we're working on the same show together. Like you're
hmm
no different from me just because of your age and that you're in school. Like we are the same, and I'm just here to teach you, and you can teach me things. And it was a very collaborative process throughout.
Oh my God. I love that. I love it how they have the big picture instilled in the beginning, because it's true. As soon as you leave that place, you could be colleagues, you could be coworkers.
And that
And
happened. A friend of mine is in a production of Rocky Horror with one of our voice teachers right now.
see,
It literally happened.
yeah, and I don't know, yeah, like, and also like I love the open-mindedness mentality to learn. And that's what I feel like a lot of people forget with acting. Like everybody wants to be a performer, everybody wants to get on stage, but really what it comes down to is being open to learn new things. And I know that's weird. Like I've directed, I've performed, and you know this. I've directed you. Like what the way that I like to direct is to get down to the character work, but like I'm also open to listening to my actors and my performers to where they're coming from, so it is a collaborative process and everybody feels comfortable. I mean, of course you have to be careful, you have to toe the line, like make sure, hey, I'm the director, like
Yeah.
ultimately this is my vision, please follow direction. But we can still do that. We can still have the collaborative process. And most of the time that comes from casting anyway. You cast the right people with the right personality and it just flows. And I love that. I love that you had that experience with your college learning. And then your time there, you said they kept that kind of like mentality and encouragement throughout. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm assuming it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, right? It was a mess at some points. It was like a beautiful mess of madness.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, especially actually, funnily enough, my freshman year, it was probably the most madness because their entire focus of freshman year was take everything that you thought that you knew about performing, put it into your hands, crumple it up, tear it apart, and then throw it in the trash because it's not what you know. They want to take all of your habits out of you. They want to make you as clean slate as possible to process the information that you need to succeed. And it's very much basics. My acting classes, especially, oh my God, it was like, what's the word that I'm thinking for? It was like exposure therapy. It was like
it's
at some points
it's very vulnerable.
It's vulnerability. That was the key word of my entire freshman year. And vulnerability, coming out of high school especially, you have all these insecurities, you had all these cliques, and now you're in this room with 13 people from all across the country, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and they want you to break down your entire family dynamic, like right in front of everyone. And it was, oh man, it was tough, but it made me, at the end of the day, I really appreciated it because I definitely would not be the actor that I am without it. But oh my God, the amount of times that, we're in class and we're breaking down in tears and, we have to walk out of the room for a bit. And like between classes, we're all in like crying circles. Like it's extremely taxing. It was emotionally taxing, especially. And, it's also, that is mainly the point. Your freshman year is when you're learning the most, and they kind of crash course all of the basics within, I mean, it's 2 semesters, so that's like 16 weeks. So it's a lot of correction and a lot of notes and a lot of, going back and nitpicking. And that alone is just to go through it pretty much every single day. It's hard. It was extremely hard. And, there are always points where you feel like you're not enough. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, you're never going to actually make it in the business. Like, it makes you question yourself. But at the end of the day, it is for the better, but it doesn't make it any less taxing.
Yeah. And it's sort of like, when you think you know everything, you know nothing. You literally stop yourself from growing if you have that mentality. Like, I know everything. I'm the best. I'm a superstar. Well, guess what? You're going to stop getting jobs. 1, because of your ego.
Yeah.
2, because of your unwillingness to collaborate with people. And I feel like a lot of actors, especially if they, if they've done like community theater, say, and they never actually studied it as an art form in an intense environment and a really, really like educational environment, they don't realize that it's not just like a person getting up on stage to perform and like, this is what I've got, I'm shining. You have to strip yourself down and be vulnerable. And just in the act of going on stage by yourself and singing a song like Beyonce or Taylor Swift or whoever, performers, actors on Broadway, they are stripping themselves down to resonate with people. And like, I feel like a lot of people have this like superstar mentality and they don't realize the vulnerable work that you have and the hard work that you have to go through to actually become the level of success that they want to be. And you gotta stay humble, because at the end of the day, what are you doing? You're telling stories that may happen, that in this world, in the story world or in real life, it happened to actual people. You're becoming another person. So that involves stripping down yourself so you can take on a role, but also bringing parts of yourself into it. And the work And then all of a sudden, like, showing these emotions and like crying during monologues on stage when they're emotional.
Yeah.
So I love it that Cap 21 really focused on that. That's great. I'm so happy you had that.
And a lot of my acting classes, it wasn't necessarily just the monologues and scenes. We would have to go home. And I remember one specific moment I remember in the very beginning of my acting classes was we had to bring in a item from home that had some sort of meaning for you.
Mm-hmm.
And we all sat in a circle with our items and we were just talking about them, but we spoke about them with intention. Our acting teacher wasn't like, oh, like, don't just like hold it up and like tell it, like, tell the item why it is important to you. Oh. And I had brought my teddy bear. I wonder if I have him. Where is he? Where's Gene? Here's Gene. I brought Gene.
Oh, hi, Gene.
I have had this teddy bear since my first ever year at sleepaway camp. I was so homesick. I was a nightmare child. It was 7 days of camp and I cried every single day. And I ended up also getting food poisoning. It was a mess.
Oh my God, Tara.
It was such a mess. But I ended up getting food poisoning. And so I went to the like nurse or whatever they considered it, because it was also a military camp. So I forget what they consider it. It was a different word. But I had to go to the nurse, and so she gave me Pepto and I laid down in the beds for a while, and then she ended up giving me this, and she was like, whenever your stomach hurts, he's very warm, hold him to your stomach and it'll make you feel better. And this bear has kind of turned into my anxiety bear. Especially growing up, I didn't really have an outlet where I felt like I could speak about my anxiety and it not be reciprocated with, it's just in your head, just calm down, like stop, like blah, blah, blah. And so a lot of those moments were spent alone with just me holding my teddy bear to my stomach. And so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Gene. I'm telling him why I'm important and why he's important to me. And I'm just like, before I could even get the words out, I'm like, the first time. And I just like sobbed through the entire thing.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a lot of that, you said, you're bringing parts of yourself into these characters. Character work, at the end of the day, you can analyze your character to death in every word and every piece of punctuation, and script analysis is a beautiful thing, but at the end of the day, character work is humanity. It's learning humanity, it's bringing humanity. And so it was things like that really developed me into the actor that I am today, of okay, like these are my real life experiences and how did I feel during this and what happened here, and what can I pull that's similar to this, like things like that is what really makes a performance a performance.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental and emotional work that goes into it, and I think even like with TV shows, I feel like if people watch Netflix or whatever streaming services and TV shows or streaming shows, they don't realize that like these characters are played by real people. And when you're on stage or, acting in a film or whatever, you're essentially being, you are yourself performing as someone else. So you are two people at once, and you're giving and taking and learning from each other within your brain all at the same time. It's so mind-boggling, but it's also so therapeutic and freeing.
And then it's like you're doing that in front of an audience of people from anywhere to like 30 to 200 people. Like imagine having that and then having those moments. And it's like, okay, like, I can have that moment within myself. No, you have to have that moment and show it to people and make them believe it.
And that's where vulnerability comes into play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, man. It's so cool to talk with someone about this because, you and I have done theater for years. Or have done some sort of performing arts for years. For me, it started with dance, but like, I've never had a chance to actually sit down and talk with someone like this about it. And this is just so It's so invigorating for me. I love it. I love it. I love these kind of
Yay!
talks. Yay.
Me too.
It's so cool. It's like when so Tara played a role in one of my original plays that was in a play festival earlier this year in 2023. I think it was in February. And you know, a lot of our discussions about her character were like this, like, what are you feeling? The duality of things and going back and forth with, okay, Tara, have you ever had this happen to you? Yes. Okay. Try to put that into the character for the script. And it's the process sometimes can feel defeating for people. But at the end, it's so worth the madness of the process. It's so worth it. And it's, like I said, it's so freeing. It's so therapeutic. And yes, like theater people have egos, but like, and we're overly emotional, but that's because our jobs are literally to be emotional.
Yeah.
And just the concept of it alone and the stuff that, you know, actors and performers like us that we have to go through, it's so taxing. And I remember back in the day, people were like, yeah, anybody can act. I can just do this. I'm like, yeah, you can. But if you really want to hone the craft, like, this is the hard work that you have to go through. And in a lot of ways, you have to look at yourself of who you are as a human being. And a lot of people don't like to do that. They hide themselves. See, the actors and performers are the brave, vulnerable people of the world, people. The ones that I just recorded another podcast and we were talking about vulnerability to a certain extent. And like I said, a lot of people think vulnerability is weakness when actually it's the strongest thing you could be in the world. The strongest thing. And people realize that and they recognize that. Why do you think people still watch TV shows?
Yeah.
They love to see stories of strength and perseverance and identify themselves in a performance.
They want to feel. It's therapeutic for themselves, you know, like, I know so many people when they're sad, like they just want to watch a sad movie to get all their sads out, you know, like, or the opposite as well, you know, when they're sad, they want to watch something happy so that they can bring the joy back into themselves. You know, they want to feel with you. And if you don't have enough of that vulnerability to just let yourself go and actually feel those emotions, then you're not doing your job. Then that person is just watching you say lines on stage.
Yeah. Let it go to let it flow, people.
Let it go to let it flow.
I got to make that. You know what, guys? I am going to make special phone wallpapers for all the listeners out there with that saying, because I say that so much. I think it might be my catchphrase. You can ask Tara. She choreographed a production of All Shook Up that we worked on together. And that's what I would say almost every rehearsal leading up to tech. I'm like, guys, let it go to let it flow. Let it go to let it flow. Yep. Okay, so if you are listening, there will be a link in the description with those downloadable phone wallpapers so you can keep that mentality going, and hopefully you guys will feel much more freer.
Whenever you're looking at the time, you'll let it go and let it flow. And hey, if you're having urinary tract problems, you can look at your phone. Oh, I lost my microphone. You know, you just look at it and then there you go. You let it go to let it flow.
Let it go to let it flow.
Whatever that means to you, however you need it in your daily life.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it means to you. I use it on a daily with all kinds of different things, not just theater. I mean, I mostly said it during All Shook Up, mostly because I think I needed to say it for myself.
Yeah. just like sitting in the corner, like, guys, please just let it go to let it flow. And they're like, we're let go, Montoni. We're fine. Just let it go, let
it flow. Oh my goodness. So Tara, during your 4 years, what do you think the most, besides, being open to learning and collaborating and being open-minded with different, ways of teaching and learning, what do you think the most valuable lesson you've learned is from your experience?
I mean, other than that, it's kind of tough because I do feel like that is the biggest lesson I learned, because I kind of ended up applying it into my daily life. I used to be, especially through high school, I used to be a very closed off person. Especially like, knowing me, I don't know how wild this is going to sound to you, but I had so many people in high school be like, I can't imagine you crying. Like they couldn't imagine me being emotional. And
that's weird because I can't imagine you being unemotional.
I know, exactly. I was a completely different person. And the lessons that I learned about vulnerability and everything, they guided me through life. I feel like I became a much more open person in general. People came to me with their thoughts and their feelings and their worries, and I was always someone that I could be a shoulder to lean on. And I feel like I've been able to help so many people because of the vulnerability lessons and things that I learned in school about just being a person. I feel like, and I feel like not only in my friendships, I feel like strangers on the street, I feel like at work, and in just like in places in my daily life where you think that it wouldn't matter, it helped me become a more proud person. I started being able to actually let myself celebrate things. I was a terrible celebrator. I mean, listen, I'm still really bad at taking compliments. I'm working on it still. We're always working. But
I know. We're all works in progress.
But, like I'm able to kind of brag about myself a little bit more, celebrate my little victories. I'm able to just be a more, I guess, positive the word, because I think I'm more of a realist.
You definitely are more of a realist. But also sympathy and empathy ties into this too. You know how you take other people's emotions and, stuff that you don't know that's going on in their life. You're empathetic to that. So that plays also a big role in acting. You learn how to empathize because you literally have to become a different person.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I always had that empathy in me. I mean, even since I was little, I remember my mom telling me this story of one time she was getting mad at somebody like speeding around her. And I was like, well, maybe they're just trying to get somebody to the hospital. And my mom's like, you're 5. What are you talking about right now?
I can picture your mom looking at you like, what?
What?
Hi, Tammy. Shout out to Tammy.
Shout out to Tammy. Best mom award. Love that woman. But yeah, empathy, sympathy, confidence. I gained so much confidence in school, in myself, in being able to stick up for myself, in life. And you have no idea how many little things, or like you have no idea how how something so big can help with something so small. Like I feel like the things that I've learned in being vulnerable and sympathy and empathy, I'm like, I'm so good at customer service now. Like it helps me at work. Like it really
Dude, I'm so good at it. That's a curse.
Oh, well, yeah, tell me about it. Oh my God, I've got people on the phone with me where like 25 minutes just talking about their life story. And it's
Yeah.
all they wanted to do is, get a couple of more pictures in their album. And here I am talking about like their dead grandmother. But I mean, it helped me help others, but most importantly, it helped me help myself.
Mhm.
It really formed me into the person that I am today. I feel like without my theater journey and without the schooling and without the lessons in vulnerability, I feel like I would just be a much sadder, lonelier person.
Yeah. And I noticed that, like, not even just with like non-theater people. I feel like people who don't have a passion for some sort of arts or creative outlet, they're or sports can also help as well.
Mhm.
But I feel like the people who don't focus on those, that stuff, because I've met them, that's why I'm saying this. I've
Yeah.
met people who just have no creative outlet of any sort whatsoever, to help them, kind of find themselves and really figure out what the heck is going on with them
Mm,
inside. And they are so miserable.
yeah.
They are so miserable. And I'm like, where's your joy? Why don't you, do you like this sport? Okay, maybe go outside and shoot some hoops for 5
Mhm.
minutes, or, some sort of activity or outlet for them.
I
And
feel like, yeah.
I definitely think the creative arts and like physical activity definitely have a role in our happiness.
Well, and like I feel like going off of that too, an important lesson that I learned in my 4 years there
Mhm.
is not being afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Like even
Mhm.
like, because you have to throw yourself out there, you have to try saying a line 10 different times until it really sticks. You are constantly being judged, essentially, like being
There's
an
a lot of
actor is
pressure.
being judged 24/7. And like it was so funny going into, because my college, it wasn't just the theater arts classes. I had my regular liberal arts classes as well, math, science, whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And those classes weren't necessarily just theater kids, it was people from every other major.
Mhm.
And it was always so funny because the theater kids were always the professor's favorite students, because like I remember I had one class where I was quite literally the only person who would talk. I was the only person participating every single
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
I wasn't afraid to give a wrong answer. Presentations weren't that scary. And just even attention to detail too. Like there
Yeah.
was one in our Spanish class, there were 3 or 4 of us from the theater department in a Spanish class. And it was a level 1 Spanish class, whatever. It was for the degree, whatever. But we were all in it. And, the teacher would literally just say, like, okay, like, let's go to page 50. Okay, we're all going to go down the line and we're going to take turns, like, reading a sentence. And then, we would read this one and then I would read this one. And then, like, you get to a kid who it's like, what page are we on? What book do we have open? And it
Yeah.
was always so aggravating.
Mhm.
I feel like those people skills, I feel like those
Mhm.
being a person skills are not taught anywhere else other than in
Mm-mm.
theater school.
Especially today, like I used to, I used to teach, and I would teach younger kids sometimes with theater. And high school's already awkward because kids are going through puberty. Like I understand that, but what I've realized is that the younger kids, they don't care what the heck they have to do. But nowadays, because they are brought up with technology and iPhones and iPads and all of that stuff, and
Mm,
tablets and smartphones, they do not look at each other. They do not know how to be humans to each other. They do not know how to
yeah.
socialize. And I must say, I probably tortured them because I would make them do the mirror exercise. I would be, hey, you are person A, you are person B. Person A, take the lead. You have to keep eye contact. You cannot stray away from eye contact, and you have to move. If your eyes move, you are out. You have to keep your eyes on the other person's eyes. We have peripheral vision. You can move your hand and make your hand match the other person without moving your eyes to look at the hand. And the kids were just so baffled by this fact that they have to look at each other. And I'm talking like 5-year-olds, where when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was play with my friends and like play the mirror games and, just like, hug and kiss my cousins. Like that's what I wanted to do as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And now nobody wants to look at each other. And so I'm like, okay, so theater, let's make theater mandatory in schools.
Yeah. Honestly.
This is my motion.
Honestly.
I think like once kids get to a certain age, they should make some sort of theater attempt, and just for the socialization, especially after COVID. After COVID, teaching after COVID and during COVID was a very interesting thing. And I didn't teach theater that year, but I taught dance, and these kids missed those primitive socialization years, and it was like double duty. And I'm like, maybe there really needs to be some sort of thing that gets these guys like actually looking at each other.
Yeah.
You don't have to look at a person and it just be romantic. I feel like kids think that nowadays. I feel like kids think I have to look someone in the eyes. I know.
Yeah.
My age too.
Platonic love needs to be so much more widely accepted. Hug your friends, cuddle a little bit, hold hands. Who cares? Who cares? Theater teaches you that being ugly is okay. Like
yes.
I mean, it's like a running joke, like, oh, like you guys like go pay $4,000 a month or $4,000 a class to run around and act like monkeys at 9:00 in the morning. And it's like, yeah, cool. We look stupid, but you know what? We're not afraid to look stupid. Like it helps with your public speaking. I mean, if you want to be like big boss CEO and you want to like be all corporate, whatever, you need to do public speaking. You want to be a lawyer? Public speaking. You need to sell that your client deserves whatever, or the other client deserves whatever. It's a selling point. Psychology. It's learning people. It's having that empathy. You have to be able to have a conversation. You have to be able to see the other person's point of view and realize what they need. Like theater is so much more than just like getting up on stage and putting on stupid costumes and singing your silly little songs. It is humanity. Yeah. And whatever field that you are going into in the world and in the workforce and whatever, everybody needs it. Doctors, how many times have you gone to a doctor's office and they made you feel like just like meat on like a silver platter, like you're just like, oh, okay, like you're just a bunch of tests. I mean, like it's everywhere. Being a teacher or being like I don't even know. I feel like the only thing that it wouldn't even be in was data analyzation. But even that, like if you are if you work from home and your entire job is just taking data and putting it somewhere else, attention to detail. You learn so much about that in acting school of like, oh, like what's the difference between saying it like this and saying it like this? Like, so there's just so many things that go into it that can help you in any way, shape, or form throughout your entire life. I agree. I think everyone should take a theater class. Definitely. Take an improv class. Who cares?
Oh,
be
gosh.
Stupid.
Improv is so fun. And that's also like another thing that ties into this is when we grow older, we often forget that we were kids at one point. And there's beauty in playing pretend. There's beauty in acting like a monkey. There's beauty in an ice cream cone and a tree. When we were kids, what did we do? We built chair forts and we pretended to be prince and princesses and knights and, you know, all of these crazy things that we made up scenarios. That is where the joy of life comes from. It comes from play. And when we are adults, we often forget that we can still do that. And that is where, you know, the joy of life comes from. It comes from play. That's why people love clever bickering. That's why people love teasing each other. That's where it comes from. It comes from play. It comes from when you were a kid. I'm playing with my Star Wars action figures and pretending that I am Anakin Skywalker. Like that
exactly.
that is what we forget about. And I think that's why I love Peter Pan so much, because especially Wendy, because she grows up, but she never lets go of that childhood playfulness. And in a lot of ways, that is who I see myself in Wendy from Peter Pan. All of my friends out there listening, you know I love Peter Pan, and now you know why. And we just forget that, and then it just becomes just, our life becomes just this mundane, repetitive thing. You know, yes, we do have responsibilities, we do have goals, but we can do it like Jude Law in The Holiday and be Mr. Napkin Head at the dining room table. Like, we can do
you lost
that.
me there. I don't know what that
is. It's a Christmas movie with Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, Jack Black, and Kate Winslet.
What a cast.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
What a random bunch of characters. I've never thought I would see Cameron Diaz and Jack Black in the same room.
Oh, yeah, it's great. She blasts the killers in one scene. It's awesome. Wow. Yeah. Mr. Brightside.
Of course.
It's great. But yeah, so I'm gonna get back on track. We went off on a tangent a little bit, and that's totally my bad. But so that's great. You got a lot of takeaways from your college program, and I think this is what we're talking about is bringing a lot of value to listeners out there who are thinking about doing theater in a professional way and training. And so my fun question is, what was your favorite performance that you did in college, and why was that such a great experience for you?
Oh, you know, my favorite performance is actually, it was our creative project. Our senior year, our first semester senior year, we had to create our own musical. We had to write a musical from scratch and then perform it. And it was the most fun, therapeutic, like just completely letting yourself go performance. And, you know, when you know that you do a good job in a show that is already pre-written, you know, like Wednesday Addams, like, was an amazing role for me, and I got so much amazing feedback from it, and that feels really good. But to create something from complete scratch and then to perform it with the memory and the process and everything in it, and then to receive the entire, like, the great feedback that you do, it is just like otherworldly. And, you know, it wasn't complete scratch. We had an instructor, and then we actually had a music director who helped us write it. And they kind of helped us, they kind of just nudged us in the direction. I want to give a shout out to them, Jillian Carucci and Ron Baumgartner. Absolute angel humans. I love them to death. They were so incredible, such geniuses, so good at what they do. They had us, in order to start the process, we wrote a story of a time. Oh, what was it? I forget what the prompt was, but we had to write a story of like our life. And then she chose a few of those stories, and then we broke up into smaller groups, and we had to like essentially write a song about that story. And I remember like there was one, they chose mine and I wrote about my time as doing martial arts and as a martial artist.
Mhm.
And we had an entire martial arts song that I got to choreograph.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Oh my
cool.
God, it was so fun. It was so much fun. And I got to belt my freaking head off. And it was just like incredible. And then, you know, from there, like we had like a melody, and then we would go to our music director and be like, oh, like, and then it took a hit, da, 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 and then he would just play it on the piano and then would write stuff down, and like he would bring it to life like that. He was like the heart of this. But that entire process, it was so fun. It was so beautiful. We were throwing ideas out there. When things failed, you know, we were able to climb ourselves back out of it. And then we performed this amazing, beautiful piece, and we made people cry and laugh. And it was just the most rewarding and incredible and life lessening like experience that I've ever had in theater. I
Wow.
loved it so much.
That is amazing. That
Yeah.
man, I'm jealous that I didn't get to do that yet.
And we got to do whatever the heck we wanted. We got to do literally whatever the heck we wanted. I had a whole martial arts thing. I literally was teaching people like karate moves and choreographed a whole thing to it. It was just like let loose. Like take everything that you've learned and throw it onto the stage and love each other and all of this amazing stuff. Like it was just everything that you could want in a show, and we made it, and it was awesome.
That is truly amazing. Nothing compares to seeing like your hard work just become something great. Like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous.
It was like an absolutely unforgettable experience. I wish that like that we had like a book of it and that we could just like go perform it everywhere. Like I would perform that for the rest of my life.
Well, send me the script.
I gotta find it.
Send me the script and we'll get it done. Do you have anything that you would like to say to our listeners out there if they're looking to dip their toe in theater, if they already are a theater lover and looking to study it? What do you have any advice for them?
Like Nike once said, just do it. I mean, literally just do it. If you see that your local theater is putting on a show and you've never sang, danced, whatever in your life, just do it. Who cares? You know, I hate to get so like deep and like sad, but like you have one life on this planet. You have one shot at this. And, you know, one day we are all just going to close our eyes and never open them up again. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to be at the end of your life and say, I really wish I just gave that a shot? Like, don't let yourself do that. I mean, we're allowed to enjoy things and be bad at things. I think that's something else that people need to realize.
Oh yeah.
Like you can have fun and be absolutely terrible at the thing that you're doing. Mm-hmm. And that is okay. Let yourself be bad. Go up there and look like an idiot. You know, like if you've never tap danced in your life, go stomp and make some noise and go do whatever the heck you want. You know, mm-hmm. Like give yourself that shot. Give yourself that grace. Forgive yourself for not being perfect and mm-hmm. not being, you know, a Broadway star with like an 8-octave range and triple threat and whatever. Just do it for the sake of doing it. And if you hate it, then you know what? At least you tried it, but you will never mm-hmm. know unless you try.
Well put. Well put. I have a whole other podcast episode about perfectionism. So I'll drop a link to that episode in the description below as well.
Yeah, don't let me get into that. Otherwise, I'll be on that one too. We'll have to turn this into 6 podcast episodes.
6 podcast episodes with just the Tara series. I love it.
Perfection part 1, perfection part 2, perfection part 3.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, Tara, thank you so much for being a guest on the Sweet Madness podcast. You are just, I love you anyway, but you are just a ray of fresh sunshine and sweet nuggets, and thank you.
Aw.
So, aw.
Thank you for having me. I loved this. What an awesome conversation. I needed this.
Oh, good. Me too, probably. I don't notice it until after. I recorded a couple other ones, and then after that, I'm like, I'm tired, but it's a good tired. It's like a release. And then my solo episodes is just me rambling about random things. So it's like it's like its own sort of let it go to let it flow moment. Um, thank you, listeners out there, for listening. I hope you enjoyed our episode, and I hope you enjoyed Tara. And
Man, I hope you did too.
if you want to get that wallpaper, click on the link in the description below. And also go to amandamontoni.com to subscribe to my newsletter, because my newsletters every week are sent to your inbox and often contain content that is somewhere along this realm of discussion. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye, guys.
Bye.